Hello everybody and welcome to this week's reviews and news. I've read 4 books this week, so a really good reading week for me. First one I finished, The Polar Bear Explorers Club, Alex Bell. I'm not going to talk about that here now because Monday is, for those of you who've seen it, fortnightly I'm doing middle grade Monday, and this was the book that I chose, and I'm going to do a review of that on Monday. Next, The Clocks by Agatha Christie. This is one of Hercule Poirot's series. I buddy read this with Cheryl from CR Flames fan. We're slowly working our way through Agatha Christie. Gave this a 3.5. Yes, I enjoyed it. If you're wanting a full-blown Poirot investigation, then this is perhaps not your first choice. He's not involved in the plot in any great way. He sort of gives the police involved a few little pointers from his armchair, and then turns up at the end and helps with the reveal as he as usually gathers all the characters together and does a reveal. But still, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's set in suburban Britain in the 60s and feels very much like cosy British feel that it was around when I was growing up, when I was a little girl, and all the politeness and how people lived. So for that, I really enjoyed it. I didn't have a clue who the murderer was. I didn't particularly feel that you were given all the right clues to lead you to that conclusion. So yes, I enjoyed it because of the time period it was set, but have read better Poirot ones. So that's that, 3.5. Next, See How They Lie, and this is by Sue Wallman. Now, I saw this recommended by Eric from Lonesome Reader, and there was a couple that I ordered that I liked off there. The next one was one of his recommendations as well, and yeah, I really did enjoy this. I think it's more of a middle grade YA, middle grade to YA feel about it. Really suitable for adults. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think it's suitable really for the older, young teenagers. And it's difficult to say too much about this without giving the plot away, but basically we've got May, and her father is a psychiatrist and sets up this big compound, this big all singing, all dancing, fancy establishment for rich families to send their wayward kids to be sorted out, and it's very much health and well-being and exercise and strict diet, and but as you go along with the story, it's obsessional really, and in a way it represents a modern day cult. May, she obviously lives slightly differently because she's the daughter of obviously the head psychiatrist, the owner of this establishment, but she has a very controlled life, very controlled, and the children of the staff that work there are rarely allowed out off compound and have no idea what the real world's like out there. So it's a great mystery. It's no, it's not a fast-paced plot. You can sort of see how the plot's rolling out, but I really enjoyed this. I love the characterisation of May. I love the teenage friendships and the loyalty that's built up amongst the teenagers in it, and there's sort of a twist. There's something sinister going on at this place as well. So thoroughly enjoyed it. 4.5. I felt that the ending was a little bit rushed, and I would have liked to have had a little bit more about the aftermath and how people coped in the aftermath of this, and it would have been a 5-star read for me if that had been the case. But well worth it. See How They Lie. Just recently come out actually. last year, 2017, and it had not been out all that long. Yeah, great. And then the fourth book I read is Lullaby, and this is by Leila Slimari. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. And I briefly touched on this last week. Again, another recommendation by Eric. And so it just came out last week. Translated from the French by Sam Taylor. Wow. Wow, you can see with all the... It make a really good book for English literature paper, for GCSE or whatever. It's a very complex book. There's so many complex issues going on. Having said that, it's not complicated to read, it's not complicated to follow, but there's so many twists and turns and complexities, and so many different social inequalities, perhaps we could say, that rear the head in this. The premise of it is that there's a young couple, both professionals. The mother's a lawyer, trained as a lawyer, but when they had their children, it was very difficult for her to get back to work, so she was a stay-at-home mum. And there's a great, it touches on that as well, one of the issues about being a stay-at-home mum, and it isn't always easy, that forever I think there's this pull between fulfilling what you need to do for yourself, and especially if you got a career, and doing right by your children. And I think the motherhood always brings this pull. But anyway, they decide that she will go back to work, and they would employ a nanny. And the lady is older, she's a middle-aged woman that comes along, and everything is perfect about her. She's got perfect references, and away we go. It's as if they're perfectly happy, but it becomes an insidious. There's so much insidious things that are happening within this relationship of the two children, the nanny and the parents, and it becomes where they can't manage without her. But she has got issues of her own, and there start to be the warning signs that are happening. And you can see these warning signs, and they're very well aware of warning signs of some incidents of how the strange bite marks on the children, and the little boy, and she tries to blame the girl for doing it. She's got this obsession with cleanliness and not wasting food, and she's got some really strange ideas, and all sorts of little warning signs that there's something not quite psychologically right with this nanny rear its head, and they're ignored, and this couple gets so involved in this treadmill of the careers and working harder and harder, and they need to earn more money, so they're working harder and harder, and before you know where we are, we're in this spiral that gets out of control. And obviously it's no spoiler that the nanny kills the children. That is how, the basis of it, that it's then the backstory of why this happens. The first chapter is about, finding the children, and it is a little bit distressing. So, be forewarned. But there's so many interesting issues. Yeah, can't explain all of them. I think you just have to read this for yourself. I put a note here. Louisa's behaviour in this whole chapter is odd and cruel, and the first sign she isn't right mentally. Different opinions, of what I got waylaid there trying to read, see if it was anything was important. So 5-star read for me. Not fast paced, don't expect it to be fast paced. There's no great reveal, as it were, because we know in the beginning what happens, but it's a very interesting story along the way. The backstory is very interesting, and there's some very interesting social issues within there that gives you food for thought, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. So that's Lullaby. Have a look at that, see if you fancy that. So they're the 4 books that I read this week. So see how they lie. Agatha Christie's The Clocks, The Polar Bear Explorers Club, to discussion on Monday, and Lullaby. Okay, so that's the 4 books. I'm really pleased with those, that I got 4 books read. Now the one I have started yesterday is Reservoir 13, John McGregor. And if you look at the film that I did on my challenge for reading the Costa Book Award winners for 2017, this is one of them. I have to say it's a bit heavy going. It's not what I expected. It's very slow paced, and I'm up to page 50 and I'm overwhelmed with the characters. We've been introduced to about half a village worth at the moment. And you know, in 50 pages trying to remember who everybody is, and you know, is a bit much, so we'll see what I make of that chance. So now we'll go on to some news, and what I'm going to talk about this week is the book to film adaptations, so books that are being made into films and being released this year, and I've got 12 here to discuss with you. So we'll just go through the list, and it was quite interesting for me to see what was coming out. I wasn't aware of some of these at all. So the first one to come out on the 9th of February is The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and we all know the well-loved Beatrix Potter series, and this is coming out, and the main character in this, the main star in this, is James Corden. And for many of you will know James Corden of Gavin and Stacey fame, and be interesting to see. I'm not sure if it's actually an animated film or whether, you know, it's full-size characters and he's playing one of the characters. It may just be that he's Peter Rabbit's voiceover. I'm not quite sure about that, but that's coming out the 9th of Feb. The next one on the 23rd of February is Annihilation, the first of the Southern Reach trilogy. That's from Jeff Vandermeer, and I've written a few more notes about that one here. Yes, I was sort of surprised this was going to be made into a film. I mean, generally only just over 3 stars are general ratings on Goodreads. But it's a dystopian. It's, you know, it's probably one that adapts well to films, all rooting, tooting, shooting, that sort of thing. So that's out on the 23rd of February. Also on the 23rd of February we've got Every Day by David Leviathan. I never know how to say his surname, you know. Leviathan, well-known YA writer. That's coming out the 23rd, and it's the first in a duology, or because that's Every Day that's been turned into film now. Another Day is its companion novel, or book 2. It's more of a companion novel really than it being a duology, and it's a YA contemporary love story. I've not actually read many of these at all. I think I've only read two of them. So that's on the 23rd. And then we go to March, and we've got the adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. And this was first published in 1962, believe it or not. And it's a middle grade adventure story. Has got good ratings, got average of 4 4.5 on Goodreads, so it's got good ratings there, and it should make a great adventure. Don't know too much about it, but yeah, that's one that's coming out on the 9th of March. Then on the 16th of March, loads of people will be excited about this. Simon versus Homosapiens Agenda by Beck Albert Alice. And yeah, this has been a very well documented and discussed book, especially on BookTube. And it's a YA contemporary, coming of age. It covers many issues on sexual orientation, identity. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really good book. Not read it again, not one that I've read myself, but I think this will be a really good film, and that's March the 16th. So there's quite a few coming out, you know, there's several coming out every month, so you could be at the cinema quite a lot this year. Then Ready Player One. That's exciting to see. That's coming out on the 30th of March. This is the book by Ernest Cline, and it's been a very hyped book as Ready Player One. It's dystopian, it's very much like virtual reality. People that are into the gaming community and lose themselves in these games. My boys, for example, you know, it's not just for kids, is it? Adults too lose themselves in these virtual reality games, rooting, tooting, shooting. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this is adapted to the film. The other thing is that there's a series that I've come across for all of you that have loved Ready Player One and you like that type of magic dystopian. There's a series by Scott Mayer, and it's the Magic series. So have a look at that if you're a lover of the Ready Player One book. I think you'd enjoy that series. So that's out 30th of March. Where'd You Go to Bernadette by Richard Lineker. I think it's Lineker. 11th of May. Not heard of this one at all. It's contemporary. From what I can gather, it's very much relationship, character driven. Different relationships, how different relationships vary between, like, if you're lovers, husband, wife, spouses, mother, father, siblings, that sort of thing. Don't know much else about that. But if you know that book and you'd like to go and see the film, that's out on the 11th of May. Next, now this one I'd really like to go and see, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This is out in August. Now, I think I'm a bit late to this party because I think we're already on about book 3 or 4 in the Crazy Rich Asian series. This one is the debut, and it's a contemporary look at the Asian jet set. So it's looking at the rich Asians, Bollywood, how they all live. It's supposed to be very, very humorous, very funny piece of writing. So I should imagine that will make a fabulous film. Something a bit light-hearted. We sometimes need something, don't we, that's a bit daft and cheers us up. So I think that will fit the bill. But have a look at that series because, as I say, there's about 3 already out. Then, one of my faves. It's Sarah Waters and it's The Little Stranger, and the 31st of August that comes out. And I love Sarah Waters, I've read all her books. Little Strangers, really, it's one of my favourites. It's a little bit of a ghost story, a little bit dark in places, but I think it will adapt very well into a film. I can't wait to go and see that and see. And I'm not usually a lover of wanting to go and see film adaptations from books, but yeah, I'd be very interested to see what they do with that one, so that's on my list for sure. And then we've got something that's really based from a piece of non-fiction work, which makes a nice change, and it's The First Man, the life of Neil Armstrong, obviously the first man on the moon. James R. Henson has done this biography, and it's now been turned into a film, and it's coming out in October, on October the 12th. And yeah, that should be fascinating. I remember being allowed to stay up to watch this, to watch The First Man on the Moon. 1969. Sorry, yeah, showing me age now, all you youngsters out there thinking, goodness me, 1969. Oh, it was so thrilling to, we did loads of stuff at school, posters and all sorts of data gathering, and that infant school, was it junior school then? I'd be 9. So yeah, I think that'll be fascinating. I think it'll also be a bit fictionised to make it into an interesting film. It's not just a documentary. Then The Girl in the Spider's Web comes next by David Lagerrantz. I can never... Right. I mean, as you'll know, Stieg Larsson started this series off and wrote quite a few of the series. And then obviously, because he's passed away, we've got David Lagerrantz. And he's taken over writing this series. Now, there's quite a bit of debate about whether that should have been the case, or whether the series should have just finished, you know, and left be with the passing of Stieg Larsson. But he's continued to write, and 19th of October this film comes out. There's quite a few people that don't like it, that it's been taken over by him, and say it's not the same. Well, it isn't going to be the same, is it really? It's never going to be quite the same when you take over from such a well-known author and a well-known series. Yeah, I mean, this is from the Millennium Series 4, The Girl in the Spider's Web. So yeah, if you're into that series and you've been reading all Stieg Larsson's books, you might want to go and see the film. And then last but not least, The Hate You Gave, or The Hate You Give, shall I say, by Angie Thomas. This is in post-production at the moment. We haven't got a release date. Apparently it is definitely going to be out this year, but obviously it'll be towards the back end. This is a YA contemporary. Very much in the public eye at the minute. This is something I think I'd like to read. 4.89 on Goodreads, so you know it's got some good scores there, and I'll update you if I find out more about when it is going to be definitely released. So yeah, that's the bookish things that are going to become films. And just another little piece of news. I know, like last week I talked about something that was on Twitter about the books being the wrong way around. Well, apparently Margaret Atwood's caused a bit of a storm this week. #MeToo movement. And there's been quite a lot of controversy because she's had quite a lot to say about the justice system and about famous men being implicated in sexual harassment, that sort of thing. And in a way, she's been pointing out that innocent until proven guilty, especially here in the British system. And apparently they feel that she's sticking up for the male perpetrators, but they're only, you know, they're not confirmed perpetrators. You know, anybody can point the finger at anybody. But anyway, she's caused a big hoo-ha. They're saying that she's really, with her comments, being anti-feminist, and that's not what she's about. And you know, another one where everybody gets on the bandwagon and has got something to say. So I thought I'd just let you know. You know, I'm not a big lover of Twitter. I don't look at it a lot, etc. But if there's anything that catches my eye that's caused another furore in the bookish news, then I'm going to bring it to you. And yes, I think that's about it for this week. So have a look at those books. There's some really cracking reads in there. Have a look, see if you fancy them, or let me know down below if you've read them already or what you think of them. And yeah, if you fancy any of those films, keep a lookout for them. It sounds like there's some really brilliant ones coming up, especially for those of you who love to go and see all the films, all the bookish films that you've read. So see you again for next week. Reviews and news. Bye for now.